Namaskar and welcome to Sansad Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you detailed analysis of all key national and international issues. Today we're going to talk about the issue of maritime security. Now, with a coastline of over 7,000 kilometers, maritime security is an important aspect of national security for India. The Government of India is implementing coastal security scheme in phases to strengthen security of coastal areas against seaborne threats. The Coastal Security Scheme aims to augment the capabilities of police forces of coastal states and union territories for patrolling and surveillance in territorial waters, especially shallow waters close to the coast. India also has a growing strategic interest due to its strong economic and political relations with the Southeast Asian countries, coupled with concerns about the safety of the sea lanes. At the 2018 Shangri-La dialogue, Prime Minister Narendra Modi outlined the vision for free, open, inclusive and rule-based Indo-Pacific region, which was universally welcomed. Now, later at the 14th East Asia Summit in 2019, Prime Minister Modi again announced the Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, or IPOI, as a practical implementation of this shared vision for the Indo-Pacific, with a focus on collaborative efforts to better manage, conserve, sustain and secure this maritime domain. In August this year, in fact, under India's presidency, United Nations Security Council also hosted a high-level open debate on enhancing maritime security. So what are the various key aspects of maritime security and what is being done by India to tackle all the challenges in this domain? We'll discuss and analyze all these aspects of this particular issue today. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of experts. Let me start by introducing them to you. Beginning with, we have with us in the studio Mr. Hitendra Singh. He is the former DIG of Indian Coast Guard. Welcome, Mr. Singh, to Sansad TV studios. We also have with us retired Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, maritime security expert, who is joining us, and Mr. Alok Bansal, Director of India Foundation, is also joining us for today's show. So let me begin with you, Mr. Bansal, and let's start by taking an overview of the overall maritime security domain. One, why it is so crucial for us, and two, where are we headed?
Well, maritime security is extremely important because not only we have a huge coastline, the understanding of maritime is actually lacking as far as a large population of the country is concerned. Unlike on land, maritime boundary is not clearly delineated. There are a lot of neutrals. The maritime laws allow neutral ships to pass through your maritime spheres. There are a large number of merchant ships. There are a huge number of fishing boats at sea. So the sort of order that you can probably see on land, where it is either your territory or somebody else's, that does not exist in the oceans. There is a lot of ambivalence. There are a lot of imponderables. And for initial few decades of India's existence, our focus was on our land frontiers because we faced existential threats from our neighbors. So now that we are focusing on maritime boundaries, we do not have that sort of an infrastructure. As I said, there are thousands of fishing boats at night if you actually go out at sea. Now, who's a friend, who's a foe? Identifying them is extremely difficult because most of these are subsistence fishermen who are actually fishing to survive. They don't have any modern gadgetry. In fact, many of them you will find are just fishing on planks of wood. So those people to have gadgetries to identify themselves at night is virtually impossible. So we need to come out with ways and means of identifying these fishing boats, and especially after the Mumbai terror attacks, there are huge questions that have been raised that this can be used, the medium of sea can be used by any non-state actor, by any hostile power to infiltrate into India. And consequently, now we are building up infrastructure all along our coastline. We are setting up radar stations, control stations, but it will take some time before each vessel at sea within Indian waters is recognized, identified and maneuvered.
Okay. So that, basically explains the importance of maritime security and the challenges therein as well. I'd like to bring you in here, Admiral Sinha. If we have to understand from your perspective, because it's not just about security. There are various other aspects also involved, but security continues to be the most paramount important aspect when we are looking at maritime domain.
I think you are absolutely right. Why are we to secure these, assets? Why are we to secure this sea, which Captain Alok sir just mentioned? Because we have our economy is dependent on sea, Vishal. Most of the, as you know, that almost 90% of the our trade, by volume, it actually travels on the sea. There is no other. We don't have very good equation with the land neighbors, and therefore our the land business is quite low. And therefore, what happens is, as the time is passing, our trade at sea is increasing, our economy is growing, and so is the economy dependent on the seas of all the global commons. Every country's, the business is dependent on the sea. And therefore, they have these challenges of security. Mm-hmm. What are the challenges? There are all traditional challenges. I don't call them non-traditional because they're very much traditional. You have piracy, you have theft, you have terrorism, you have drug trafficking, you have so many things, And therefore, now the world has realized that securing the sea lanes of communication, Vishal, is very important, through which the trade travels, not only of India, but every other country. Okay. And therefore, I think that is a much bigger issue. If you look at the ocean, they're huge, 7,500 kilometers of coastline. Yes, you're right. But if you see sea beyond that, in which our ships do the trade, they are phenomenal, hundreds and thousands of square kilometers. And they can be interdicted anywhere. So therefore, I think that the time has come that the whole world must unite. It is not only India's job, because one country cannot ensure the maritime security of this vast area, whether it is Indian Ocean, whether it is Indo-Pacific. Fortunately, our Navy is very strong, and the present Prime Minister Modi, he has given a lot of attention to maritime. As you know, that every foreign trip that he does, the first agreement to be signed is maritime cooperation. Indeed. And therefore, I think it's a cooperative mechanism which is going to hold us in good stead.
Okay.
Vishal.
Okay. Indeed, you're right there, Wilson. A lot has been done, and we'll talk about those specific steps as well, be it, the Saga initiative or IPOI or the focus on the Indo-Pacific. But let's come back to our shores for the time being. And Mr. Hitendra Singh, you've been there as DIG of the Coast Guard, 7,500 kilometer long coastal, border. That's a huge area to man. One, where what have we learned over the years? And two, what is being done to, bolster or boost the security at this particular border, the coastal border?
Well, the incident that took place in 2008 made everybody wise, and especially the government. The government said, okay, listen, we have to strengthen our forces, coastal forces, the coastal police, the coast guards, there are so many agencies involved. Of course, the Navy was definitely the biggest. And I think, it's just not just the 7,500, it is almost 3 million square kilometers of area which we have around the country, which is in the sea, and the islands. Now, all these, they are all available for exploitation, for minerals, for oil, and fishing. So we have to protect that. And I don't think so far we had the resources. Now the government has put in a lot of, they're putting in a lot of effort and a lot of thinking on this process. And you would know that recently the government has appointed sea management, the coastal security management manager or whatever,
Maritime Security.
Yes, Maritime Security. So I think the Navy is being strengthened, the Coast Guard is being strengthened. The Coast Guard is now almost around about 150 ships, surface units, high speed and medium speed patrol vessels. And also they've got aircraft, so they patrol almost 24/7. They're looking for boats and other merchant ships, just to protect any incidences that might take place in our coastal waters.
Okay.
But the main thing I would tell you is that the biggest threat we now have is from drugs. Drugs being smuggled from Pakistan and from Afghanistan onto the Gujarat coast. Oh, that is worrying us at the moment, because what they do is they come in big dhows, 150 nautical miles from Gujarat, from Mandvi, and then they put them into these small boats and transport them to the Indian border, and then of course they're sent all over the place in trucks and things like that.
Okay.
As Alok said, that thousands of those boats, how can you identify which one is carrying drugs? And it's not an easy task. It's a very difficult task.
Indeed.
And I think the basis of all this is intelligence. Intelligence is the only thing that can help us to identify that a boat is or a ship is carrying contraband or drugs.
Okay. Intelligence there becomes very crucial and
primary.
Primary, and then obviously being supported by technology and overall infrastructure as well. That brings me, back to you, Mr. Bansal. In terms of coastal security, when we are, the first step is to safeguard our own borders, our own coastal areas, and a scheme has already been put in place wherein, police stations are being built in coastal areas, the states which have, and union territories which have coastal borders. That's one part. The other part, obviously, is to ensure that the entire machinery works in, security machinery works in tandem with each other.
There is no doubt. I think coordination is the key to any security arrangement. And to that extent, I think we need to have maritime coordination centers, etc., where all maritime agencies, because there are different agencies of the government which are operating at sea, and they are all working independently. There are certain central government agencies, there are state government agencies. They all need to coordinate. I think government has taken certain steps, and Navy has been appointed as the lead agency as far as this coastal security is concerned. But I think it will require a huge amount of effort to coordinate and monitor all the vessels transiting through that. And for that, we will need to have vessels which can operate in shallow waters. We'll need vessels which can operate in deeper waters. We'll need aircraft operating helicopters which can operate from vessels as well as from shore. And we will need maritime patrol aircraft. And coupled with this, we would need radar stations which are interlinked with each other, so that every vessel that enters India's maritime space is actually monitored, be it neutral shipping, be it any warship, any fishing boat, and is monitored like the way it happens in the case of air traffic. The day it starts happening, then we can be reasonably assured, yes, that India's maritime borders are secure. As of now, we have set up certain radar stations which can pick up bigger contacts, but smaller boats will still evade identification or detection, and they can still pass through. And as I said, when there are thousands of boats, it's virtually impossible to know which is carrying fish or which is carrying contraband in terms of drug, arms, or anything. There could be arms or drugs buried under the fish. So that is extremely, extremely difficult. It's extremely time consuming, and we do not have that sort of resources where you can go from boat to boat identifying and trying to establish whether it's a bona fide boat or it's indulging in illegal activity.
Okay. Admiral Sinha, your views there on these challenges with both, Mr. Singh and Mr. Bansal are pointing out, and I'm sure you'll add to that long list of challenges with the coastal security at our own, coastal borders we're talking about, and how do we tackle that? There are, of course, policies being put in place, money which is being spent on boosting infrastructure, but as both the other panelists are, saying that it's also to do with intelligence, correct intelligence, and better coordination.
Vishal, there is a system in place. I won't say that it is 100% perfect, but every coastal state along the coastline of India on both sides, they have been told, the state governments have been told that the boats will be painted in a particular color scheme. So that is one way to identify that, yes, it is our boat or it is not our boat. And the knowledge of our boats will always be available with the fishing communities. And for that reason, the fishing community, there is indoctrination done by Coast Guard and Navy very frequently. And also they have been given, in some states, they have been given a cell phone from which they can contact the nearest marine police station. So if they find some unusual movement, a boat which doesn't belong to their fishing village, then they will make a report immediately, and there will be alarm will be set, and there is a long procedure for that. So that is number one. The second one is, that every boat which is more than 200 tons now they are supposed to have the automatic identification system. It is being manufactured in India. We haven't had 100% on that. So that, it will be slightly much easier to, identify them on radar. Thirdly, which Alok mentioned about, we have this Coast Guard, radar stations, and they are all on one net. Then we have ships and submarines and aircraft, as was mentioned by the Coast Guard DIG, and they all put it into one maritime domain awareness network, Vishal. As you know that the center is located in Gurugram, and it can be accessed by the Coastal Security headquarters in the MOC, in the Maritime Operations Center in Mumbai. It can be monitored in Visakhapatnam. It can be monitored in Andaman Nicobar.
Okay.
But as Alok said, it is a very tall order. On any one day, on any given time, there are almost 50,000 fishing boats at sea. And therefore, we require, as you said, intelligence. Yes, the fishing community has a big role to play apart from what I mentioned. And they have to be connected. All of them are connected. There is a robust MDA of India, there is no doubt. And as Alok mentioned, the moment they enter your maritime domain, one should know.
Okay.
We have wide shipping agreement with many countries who exchange online. Almost, I think, 36 countries are doing that. And we know that which ship is coming from where and which where is he heading for.
Okay.
So by and large, knowing the whereabouts is most important. Intelligence cooperation, intelligence sharing, and putting it all in the one maritime domain awareness network. Vishal.
Okay. So, Mr. Singh, intelligence, of course, remains the important issue. So it is coordination, as Admiral Sir also pointed out, community engagement as well, and boosting infrastructure. Apart from that, what all would you suggest in terms of actions which should be taken to boost the security? Because this challenge is very big, as all of you are pointing out. Almost 50,000, fishing boats at any given point in time there in the sea, and having coordination amongst all these states, union territories, and the central mechanism as well.
Yeah, Vishal, it is like this that I mentioned the Gujarat coast, but there, or even the western coast, you see a lot of these boats coming in and moving around. Now it is looking for drugs or looking for weapons in any of those boats is like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's a very, very difficult task, and there is a limit to how much infrastructure we can have to do the job also, because you see, being such a huge coastline and so much of big area that is involved, and then we just count not the mainland coastline, but let's talk about the islands. The Andaman Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep and all there also. India's got almost 700 islands. They have to be protected.
Okay.
And it's a huge task. The government is aware of it. I think they're doing their bit. They are building up the forces, the Navy, the Coast Guard, even BSF. They are handling boats now, and they've been given some very high-speed boats and things like that. I've been reading. Then the coastal marine police stations. I think the government has told the states to to provide those with proper manning and personnel.
Indeed.
But there are still lapses in intelligence. The people can get away. You see, the biggest thing is you can give somebody a couple of, say, a little bit of money and get away with the thing.
Okay.
We'll have to tighten up on that.
Okay, obviously, the challenges are pretty big here, and it's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process.
We will have to be, a little more vigilant every time again, a little more patient as well. Now, let's venture a little bit deeper into the sea again, and then coming back to, the first response which you made, Admiral Sinha, about the larger maritime security issue in the Indo-Pacific, and steps which have been taken by India, be it the IPOI or the Sagar scheme which India has. Apart from that, and these steps, and also apart from that, what's your assessment in terms of how we have done so far vis-a-vis the Indo-Pacific, and what more needs to be done to not only boost our presence there, but also secure our own interests and those of our allies?
I think you have really hit the nail on the head. But I must say that from the time Prime Minister Modi has taken over the reins of this country, the Sagar was spelled out right in the beginning in a visit to Mauritius, which stands for the security and growth for all in the region. he has realized very quickly, maybe his own background of being from a coastal state, that unless the neighborhood in the Indian Ocean is secure and unless they are growing and growing together, we are not going to achieve the 100% of Indian Ocean regions of security. So on that aspect, a lot has been done. We have already got, the agreements with all countries bilaterally and some trilaterally, like we have with Sri Lanka and Maldives, and slowly I think Bangladesh is going to join. Mauritius and Seychelles, we have already provided the radar station. Once all these are networked, Vishal, then I think that, by and large, the most of the Indian Ocean part will be covered.
Okay.
But I believe that, India needs a base outside, outside Indian shores, particularly in the southern Indian Ocean, so that we have our presence, we have our support systems, we have our ships, and etc. etc. Coming back to Indo-Pacific, our areas because of the Quad and Malabar, our areas of patrolling and areas of exercise have expanded to other end of the Pacific.
Okay.
And we have more number of ships now visiting in those areas. Our friendly countries are, wanting to be the part of our system in every endeavor that we do.
Okay.
And I think you can take Vietnam, you can take countries in the Gulf, we have very good equation. So I think what we need to do now is to make sure that the assets are available, the latest technology is inducted, and we have more cooperative agreement with other countries who are actually very well equipped, and also those who are not very well equipped.
Okay.
Because you have to give confidence to your partners and allies.
Indeed.
And that is very important for India.
Indeed, making the littoral states having confidence, more confidence in us is the key there. Mr. Bansal, you were nodding in agreement seemingly with Admiral Sinha there when he was talking about the need to take certain steps. Your assessment vis-a-vis the overall maritime security domain when we're talking about the Indo-Pacific, the way we have moved ahead in the past, 7 to 8 odd years or a decade, and, the challenges ahead of us because China seemingly is becoming a growing player.
As far as Indo-Pacific is concerned, it's a nice construct because we are cooperating with Quad and other countries. But as far as, if you look at Indian Ocean purely, I think India is the predominant maritime power as far as the littoral navies in Indian Ocean is concerned. Of course, much bigger navy in the form of US Navy is present in the Indian Ocean region. As far as building confidence is concerned, by and large, the Indian Ocean littorals have immense confidence in Indian Navy. In fact, we are seen as a benign power, and consequently, we see a lot of people are very keen to seek the support of Indian Navy. As you know, there was a time when Mozambique wanted offshore security to be provided by Indian Navy. There was a time when in times of natural disasters, Indian Navy has come out to help countries like Indonesia, Maldives, Sri Lanka. We have actually helped other countries in our neighborhood to evacuate their citizens from war zones.
Indeed.
So as far as confidence level is concerned, as far as Indian Navy is concerned, it has come a big way. I think most countries in the Indian Ocean region look up to Indian Navy to provide them succor in case of maritime eventualities, to cater for their maritime security requirements as well.
Okay.
So I think we need to build up on that and build up robust relationships and ensure that this particular region is absolutely secure.
Okay, there it is. Thank you so much, Mr. Alok Bansal, Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, as well as Mr. Hitendra Singh for sharing your views and insights. As our experts were pointing out, clearly there are a lot of challenges when we're talking about the maritime security, specifically on our coastal borders, more than 7,000 kilometer long coastal border which we have. A lot being done in terms of putting infrastructure in place, but intelligence gathering, coordination is something which requires more fine-tuning, and venturing deeper into the seas when we're talking about Indo-Pacific. There also, of course, the policies which have been placed and decisions which have been taken, the confidence which we have gained of our allies will need to be built upon further. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sansad Television. Thank you.